Hello.
Sup?
So, welcome to the stream. How you doing?
Hold up. Let me start mine in a second.
Oh, you streaming it too?
No. I'm capturing it with my OBS.
Oh, okay, sweet. I'm recording mine as well. I wasn't sure if you needed a copy of the recording or what.
Oh, no. I got my own. I
Okay.
just want to make sure. I gotta raise my volume.
Okay, sweet.
Okay, I'm going right now.
All right.
So, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was expecting you to have a strange southern accent.
Oh yeah.
Yep, because, tends to be how this turns out to be.
Would you say that you were profiling me? That you were racial stereotyping me when you did that?
No, I would not say that.
No. Why is that?
Uh, I don't believe all white people have a southern accent.
No, but you believe that I did, and I just find
Yeah,
that interesting.
it's my natural belief that a racist person would be southern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
not a profile, just a assumption.
well, you know what they say about assumptions. Okay, so, I don't really have a structure or anything planned
Oh,
out for
great! I
this.
was hoping you were the one with the structure.
Well, this is the first time I've streamed anything like ever, so it's kind of new to me. I've got some notes prepared, and like I can kind of direct the conversation.
Oh, good. I have nothing.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I got a notepad
Uh huh.
for writing things down.
All right. Very cool.
All right.
So, I figure we can start with the Great Replacement and then sort of move from there because I
Well,
don't
I
think.
was thinking because my viewers are going to be completely in the dark of why I'm doing this.
Uh huh.
I was hoping to start with just telling them how we got here, and then we can move on to the debate.
Okay. Shoot.
All right. So started last Sunday. I just so happened to be on Twitter as I do, and something was going viral, I would say. A video of Justin Trudeau talking about the Great Reset, a conspiracy theory that well, it wasn't him talking about it. It was a bunch of conspiracy theory people clipping one part of his statement where he mentioned a word, reset. We need to reset Canada's economy or whatever it is, and that got all the anti-globalist minds racing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, they're going to force us into socialism. They're going to use coronavirus as a way of globalizing the world and la la la. And I messaged someone pretty much making fun of them because that was the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. Again, I don't normally
Wow.
I hear of conspiracy theories, but they're all bullshit.
You must be kind of new to the internet if that's the stupidest thing you've ever heard.
Oh, I mean QAnon,
Yeah.
QAnon by a fucking country mile, but
I'm not familiar.
yeah, I'm not like up to date with most of them. They normally start in fringe small groups and then they spread.
Mm-hmm.
So I normally don't see them till they spread. I avoid those groups. But anyway, messaging that person ignited an argument that less important Adam
Yeah.
happened to message me first.
My good friend, less important Adam.
Yes, that's what I call him because his name is also Adam apparently.
Yeah.
He was the first to message me, and he kind of changed the subject to the Great Replacement, as you guys call it.
If I'm remembering the conversation correctly, it had something to do with conspiracy theories. It was like name a easily provable conspiracy
Yes,
theory.
I challenged him to name a conspiracy theory that wasn't just a bunch of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
and to which he named like 20 like different ones, like the assassination of Julius Caesar and the Great Replacement one was the one that apparently stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, I was arguing with him. A bunch of other people showed up, and you happened to be one of them.
That's when I entered. Yes.
Yes, and I think we were arguing with each other for about 3 hours that afternoon.
Maybe.
On and off.
Maybe. Yeah.
About on and off. Whenever I would see the message appear on my Twitter tab, I would immediately jump back over there and eventually I was getting bored with the conversation, so I was not trying as hard to debate.
A likely story.
Yeah, okay. You could pretty much go through the Twitter argument. For whatever reason, you decided to challenge me to a debate.
Yeah, because that's how I get my rocks off.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be friendly. I'm sorry if it's not getting across to you.
Well, I don't know how friendly I'm going to be towards you, but
okay. I want to make it clear from the start of this that I do appreciate you taking the time out of what you've expressed to me as a busy schedule. So, like no matter, I'm sure we're going to disagree, and those disagreements may be volatile. I just want to make it clear from the outset, though, that I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do a debate type thing for a while. I just didn't know which one to start it on. I'd actually, a while ago, I challenged one of those crazy QAnon people to a conspiracy theory debate, and he never showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Calling you out, Monster Paradise.
All right, Monster Paradise, if he's listening. All right.
No, he ain't listening. He's not a subscriber. I actually ran into him on one of my troll accounts.
Oh.
But hey, I wanted to challenge him. He didn't want to show.
No, yeah, I love a good challenge, and so I'm hoping we can sort of get into, like, I know that the topic is the Great Replacement, but I'm kind of hoping we can springboard off of that into more interesting and sort of more in-depth ideas that we can explore.
Okay.
Because I don't find the Great Replacement to be that. First of all, I don't find it to be super contentious, and second of all, I don't know what much there is to talk about. Without getting into other issues such as like the reality of race and what your opinions are on that and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because my argument for the Great Replacement, against it, for everyone to know, I'm against the conspiracy theory. My position on it was, okay, so what? So it was, because unlike you, I'm not scared of brown people. So
right, that's what you think.
Yeah.
So
but I'm glad we can branch out. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I meant to preference this at the start. I am going to have like a hard stop by like 2:00, because that's when I gotta get ready for work and whatnot. So hard stop at 2.
Same for me.
For like an hour and a half, I guess.
Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, we'll take it for as long as you want, or however, wherever the conversation goes. I'm fine with that. I can go for a while. So I want to clarify your position on the Great Replacement then, first and foremost, because it was my understanding that it wasn't so much an apathy towards it. It was more sort of like you don't believe it's happening. So I want to clarify your position on that before we go any further. Do you think that it's not happening, or you think it's happening but it doesn't really matter?
Okay, so maybe for my audience, I should also explain what the Great Replacement is for anyone who's in the dark. The Great Replacement is essentially the idea that minority races across the world, but specifically in America, are...
Yeah, we'll keep it in America for the purpose of this conversation.
The minority races are reproducing at a rate higher than white people. Therefore, in 2,000 years, the world will essentially be brown.
The actual projection is something like 15 years in the states.
No, there's no way that's gonna
Well,
happen in 15 years.
it's like no, I'm sorry, it's not 15 years. It's more like 25. Like 2045, whites will be a minority in the United States. That's according to the U.S.
Okay.
Census.
That is completely wrong, I'm afraid.
I mean, if you want to disagree with the Associated Press and the Brookings Institute, that's perfectly fine. But I'm just telling you that's what the Census Bureau says.
Which I will do.
Okay. I mean, if I could just read you these figures from the Census Bureau, what we're seeing in America right now is that the white demographic is experiencing a lot of aging and deaths, but not as many births. That's sort of a recent problem. We've always been shrinking because of the influx of immigration and the birth rates of all these other groups, and so the white population has been becoming a minority for a while, but it's only recently that it's projected that like whites are going to start dying faster than they're going to be reproducing. So
why do you suppose that's the case?
I don't think the conversation, I don't think that really bears any relevance to the conversation.
I'm just wondering why you think white people are dying out so quickly. Why do you think they're not having as many children?
I think that there's a case to be made that there is a propaganda push for whites to miscegenate and not have so many children. I can't speak so much to that topic in particular because I don't have those numbers right in front of me. It's hard to like accumulate numbers on that. I could send you a PDF that goes into like anti-white bias in media and stuff like that if you're interested.
Oh, I'm very not interested.
All right. Well, I'm glad to see you have an open mind.
No. Oh no, I have an open mind. I'm just not feeling like reading right now. My vision is blurry.
I'm not asking you to do the reading in the middle of the debate. That's ridiculous. Yeah. So I don't really think that that's a relevant point to bring up in the discussion is like, why is it happening? The fact is that it's happening, and the consequences of that I think are what I'm interested in talking about.
Well, there's a lot of places I'm gonna go with this. Consequences. Okay, I would love to know what you think the consequences of this will be.
Okay, where do I start? We could start with the fact that as a result of the white minority, America will, as a consequence of that, become more diverse, and it's pretty easily. Yeah. What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do I start with this? Okay. So if you look at the Putnam study, for example, I believe it's called Bowling Alone, we find that in societies with higher levels of diversity, trust falls. This leads in turn to less voluntarism, less charity, more unhappiness. You don't have as many friends. What's that?
Yeah, I have one thing I gotta say. Trust in what? Government? Authority? What?
This is trust amongst. This is trust amongst like broad society. It this does include government. That is listed as one of the things that people will have fewer levels of confidence in.
Is this for just minority or immigration, like immigrants?
This is diversity. This is like broad, like as opposed to say a homogenous society, which would be, I don't know, all white, all black, whatever you want to slice it.
Just keep going.
Okay.
I'm writing things.
Okay, yeah. So trust falls in more diverse societies. You'll see less voluntarism, less charitable giving. People make fewer friends or have fewer friends. Higher levels of unhappiness. People watch TV more often, which is like a classic antisocial behavior. People are less confident in their government. They're less likely to participate in government, like registering to vote, for example. That's like the basics of like why diversity is just bad on its face. I'm not sure what's your response to that.
Well, people have been watching TV for many years, way too much. if you ask my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a minority problem, I would say. Registering to vote, I was under the assumption that you did not believe that minorities had a right to vote in America.
All right, you can cut the bullshit. First of all, I never said anything like
Ooh.
that, okay? So if we could keep it in the realm of reality and what I actually said, that'd be great. That would be just fantastic.
Your white supremacist tweets. I won't
Right.
bring that up.
We're going to talk about white supremacy. No. Be quiet. You want to talk about supremacy? You want to talk about racial hatred? Okay. There's some pretty select quotes from your Twitter account that I could pull up right now. All right. Do you want to get into that now?
I was trolling you.
Oh, you were trolling me. You were trolling. Yeah. That's what that was. Okay. All right. Hold on a minute.
Most of it. Some of it I actually do, but I won't say which ones. If you want to, all right, we won't bring up each other's Twitter.
No, I think I will. Okay, listen to what you said on Twitter. All right, you said, and I'm quoting here: "I hope non-whites take over the fucking planet. I'm going to do my part and make a bunch of caramel-colored babies with as many brown-skinned people as I can. I want to do my part to destroy the pure white race."
Okay. That was the result of Twitter not allowing me to say the full thing. I wanted to darken the purity of the white race.
Right, because that makes it so much better.
I'm not a racist.
If I right, because you're not a racist. If I had said that same sentiment to you, but it was about whites taking over the fucking planet, or if it was about non-whites wanting to wipe out the non-white race, what?
Is that not what you want?
No, that's absolutely not what I want. What would possibly lead you to believe that that's what I want? I'm a white nationalist.
Okay, and you. So you're a white nationalist, but you're not a white supremacist.
Right.
Okay, so you think white people deserve their own place in the world, but not because they're special.
I think they're special to me. What is this line of questioning?
Everyone's special to everyone.
What I don't understand this line of questioning. I don't have to believe in the supremacy of any race to believe that they deserve a homeland.
All right, fair enough. It's just, white nationalism, white supremacy, they go hand in hand.
That is go on.
You admit that's true, correct?
No. What?
No.
Right.
So most white nationalists are not also white supremacists, is what you're saying. That you are in fact not a minority amongst white nationalists on that position.
Yeah, I don't think I am. No. I mean, if you could prove otherwise, I'd be interested to see some statistics on that. If there's any way you could even track such a thing.
I can't think of a way to track things, but
okay. Well, then, again, how about we try and keep it in the realm of reality and like things we can measure?
Oh, okay. We'll keep it in the realm of reality.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
We can do that.
Okay. So, all right, where do we go from here?
You were saying diversity leads to people watching more TV and not registering to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think we've kind of established that.
That's a problem in America, despite the diversity.
I mean, despite the diversity, but the Putnam study proves that it only gets worse with diversity. So why would we thrust that upon our nation?
But all right. So here's something that might incentivize minorities to register to vote.
Mm-hmm.
If there's less people running for public office, they might be a little bit more inspired to get out there and vote for a brown candidate.
How does that respond to the idea that in more diverse areas you have less confidence in government and you're less likely to register to vote? What does that have to do with it? Having representation does not address the problem of diversity. It just means that you're making that solution implies that you have to set up an illusion of faux homogeneity. Why wouldn't you just make a homogeneous society?
What does that word mean?
Faux means fake. Homogeneity means it's all one thing. So what I'm saying in this instance is that in more diverse societies, you see higher levels of distrust and higher levels of unhappiness, and you're less likely to vote and less confidence in government and stuff like that. And what you're suggesting as a
I
solution to that is that, well, why don't we have more representation for minority groups in government? So what you're
that
suggesting
is exactly what I was going to say.
right, and that is implying that to solve the problem of distrust in government, you set up an illusion that the government is set up for these minority groups. That doesn't do anything to address the problem of diversity. It just sort of covers it up. And I don't think it would work, frankly.
My position on this is minorities don't really have an aspiration to get out and vote, because most of the time the people running in their area tend to be of white skin color and don't represent the communities for which they're supposed to be representing.
If I could just, I'm not trying to cut you off, sincerely. If I could just press you on this a little bit. Okay. I'm not. I lost my train. Hold on.
Well, I think your train's been off the rails for some time.
I'm going off the rails, my friend. I completely lost it. I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. I'm sorry. It was the question of diversity. You're addressing minority issues. You're not addressing the problem of diversity. Diversity does not imply more minorities necessarily. It implies more different. It implies different ethnic groups or different groups of people coexisting together. Addressing minority issues does not address the broader issue of diversity.
Okay. My point being that I'm going to go with Joe Biden's logic on this, actually. If that his cabinet should reflect the population of America, essentially, where because women don't have much of a representation, black women don't have much of a representation, he selected Kamala Harris as his running mate. He says he wants his cabinet to reflect the essentially the diversity of America. So if black people make up 30% of America, he's going to have 30% of his cabinet be black. And I think that is a great way of having trust in the system, because now there's equal representation.
That's yeah.
But I'm not just gonna keep hitting the register to vote thing you said. I'm writing things down, and what I wrote down is diversity bad, trust falls, there's unhappiness, too much TV, won't register to vote. That's what I've gotten written down.
This is from
TV
the Putnam
one,
study, yeah.
Yeah, all right, Putnam.
I think it's called Bowling Alone, if you're interested.
Bowling Alone. Okay. So I think we pretty much hit the TV one pretty easily. People watching a lot of TV. Register to vote. Again, incentivize in more diverse communities, because in most diverse communities they're being represented by just white people, not a person from their community representing their community.
I think that you're
kind of be how politics is.
I think that you're kind of circumventing the issue, though, because as I've already said, and I don't know if you're failing to understand, or if we're just getting lost in translation, but diversity does not mean like minority. Diversity means multiple groups. So having equal representation across the board doesn't do away with the problems of diversity. It just puts sort of a bandage on it. And even then, I struggle to believe that would be what happens, especially when we see, very simply on the opposite end of the spectrum, homogenous societies have higher rates of happiness, and these things are not a problem. So
I would imagine so.
Right. So why wouldn't we
not because it's good, but because everyone within that same group is being represented at every level of their society with someone of their race.
You're not addressing the issue. You're addressing a sort of a fantasy point that I never made. This idea that like, oh, you're not being represented. That's not what the point is. The point is that the more diverse a society
is, trust thing. It goes to the trust thing that you also mentioned.
It doesn't though.
Where, of course, you wouldn't trust. Well, I'm not gonna, because you said you're not a white supremacist. So, for example, the black community is a lot more skeptical when it comes to white people for obvious reasons.
Why, for obvious reasons?
When every level of government, every level of court, every level of, every authority is a white person in a black area, there's going to be a lot of mistrust for historic reasons.
You don't think that mistrust might stem from the fact that blacks are just more likely to commit crimes and things of that nature, and so they're more likely to have run-ins with these types of authorities?
Oh, I was so hoping you would bring this up because I didn't want to be the one to bring that up.
Oh, I'm raring to go on this one. What do you got?
Oh, yeah, it's real easy to get the heat off your white people by blaming all crime on black people.
I've never blamed all crime on white people, on black people rather. I've never done that.
Okay, well, bringing up the amount of black people incarcerated is not actually going to help your case, and I can explain right now. So, you believe that there's more black people incarcerated, more black people committing crimes, quote unquote, than white people in this country.
That is evidently the case, yes. Okay.
Well, there's a few factors that you might not be considering here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I brought up the socioeconomic problem in a bunch of Twitter fights.
I could actually address that really quick if you don't mind, because the socioeconomic counter. I want to
kind of. Okay.
That's fine.
I kind of get my point.
Okay, you can get your point out, and then I'll try to respond to both.
You got a notepad? You should get a notepad. It really helps.
I have a Word doc. I'm a step ahead.
Oh, yeah.
You're feeling scared now, aren't you?
And yeah. I can't beat a work. Oh wait. Oh, I have it. Haha. Well,
shoot. I've met my match.
Yeah. Okay. So, I brought up the socioeconomic. We can come back to that one when I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
We got a bunch of other problems that police are more likely to be called in black communities than white communities. Not always because of the reasons you're suspecting.
Well, why wouldn't that be? Because unless there's evidence to the contrary, why am I to assume that like the innocence of these communities when the statistics show otherwise?
Well, in areas that are mostly white, you don't get the black population suddenly jumping and spiking in crime rate. It just depends on area, and since black people tend to remain in generally similar areas to each other, similar communities that tend to be mostly black, of course, there's going to be a lot more crime in those areas being done by black people. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
If you could clarify that point a little bit, I'm actually not sure what it is that you're trying to get across. Are you trying to say that
I'm saying
it's a socioeconomic problem?
No, I'm not mixing that in yet.
Okay.
I brought that up, but I'm in a different point.
Okay,
right
I'm genuinely curious. I wasn't sure what your point was.
Oh, you said you want to. Do you just want to hit the socioeconomic right now?
Sure. I could do that really quick. Yeah.
Okay. Let's just do that. We'll take it point by point. I'll make a list so I don't forget what I'm about to say.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, the thing about the socioeconomic argument is that I haven't done a lot of thinking about this until this debate happened, and so like I always just kind of assumed that wasn't really a factor, but when I had to look into it, I found out that I was actually correct, that the socioeconomic status is really not a predictor of criminality, as much as race is. Like if you look at New Century Foundation's Color of Crime report or study, whatever you want to call it, they found a 0.81 correlation with criminality and race as opposed to the 0.36 state poverty correlation. Excuse me. So race in that instance was a higher predictor of criminality than socioeconomic status was. If you want to read more on that, what's it called? Ryan Falk at Alternative Hypothesis wrote a hugely substantial piece on like the whole race and poverty thing and how it relates to crime. And he goes over all sorts of studies that are very similar to that. And he concluded that, and I'm quoting, "Clearly then, economics cannot account for all or even most of the racial differences we see in crime, given its weak relationship with crime in general and the case against that relationship being casual. Its casual role in racial crime disparities is probably very small if it exists at all." I could send you a link to that if you're interested.
The website it's from is called Alternative Hypothesis.
Yeah, and he goes over all sorts of different studies in that article that he wrote.
That sounds like a bit of an iffy website, not gonna lie, but okay.
I mean, that's fine that you can think that, but it's really more about the studies than it is, I think, the website.
Fair enough. I will, just because I didn't bother to look it up yet, I will take your word for it, and let's assume that everything he just said is correct.
Okay. Fine by me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not much of a socioeconomic person myself.
Oh, okay. I mean, neither am I. I just, like I said, I had to look this up for the debate.
I guess I'm gonna probably have to look that up at some point. I don't want to have to click. All right, so essentially what I'm doing is I'm recording this while also working on things for my channel.
You're working on your channel, like
just photoshopping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm doing a bunch of things on my computer while also taking notes and drinking my caffeinated beverage. Mm-hmm. So I'm in 3 places at once right now. So I don't actually have like a tab open to like look anything up.
That's fine. I don't expect you to like.
I'll just take your word for it.
Yeah, I mean,
right, I'll say black people poor. Poor people tend to be more likely to commit a crime, and crime isn't. I just want you to know that I've argued crime before. People don't just wake up one day and decide to be a criminal. Just mostly what I want to get to. It's normally driven by economic problems or mostly things along those lines. People generally don't just wake up and decide to steal,
I get that sentiment, I guess, but like I just went over with you, the correlation between race and criminality is pretty substantial as opposed to the poverty correlation, which is far less. So like I get that desire to sort of ignore the racial aspect of it, but that doesn't seem to be the case when you look at the actual data.
All right, I'm just gonna move on from that one and go to my next point. See if you can trigger it, because I'm
all right. I'll try and keep up.
Busy right now. I can't pull nothing up. Okay, so my next thing I wanted to say was the community issue where 911 calls and other such things take place, being in black neighborhoods. Oh, here it is, right here. Well, no shit, essentially. Hold up.
Take your time.
Yeah, I'm not. Okay. All right, community. All right. So, naturally, in more black-filled areas, I hate saying black. As a non-racist person, I don't like saying black. It's just because, African American. Let's just say that. I don't like.
Okay.
I also don't like speaking for a group of people because I'm not a member of that community.
Okay.
But
Well, I can do that. I don't have that problem, so.
yeah, I know you know. Well, you know what? This might actually help. I don't do research on. Well, I this might not sound like it, but I've done professional debates before. I know you don't. I know it doesn't sound like it right now. I've done it. I when I know about a debate a week in advance, I tend to read things.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to do a little research on the person I'm speaking with. I've done absolutely none of that for any of this, thinking I could just come right in here and destroy you because white nationalism is a ridiculous thing, and I've argued it against it before, at least twice, but it mostly always turned back into an argument about religion as well.
That's interesting. 'Cause I don't see.
So
I don't,
I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie. I was expecting you to also be just another white supremacist, white nationalist guy. And white supremacy, if I can take that down, white nationalism just crumbles. You know.
Sure.
But your position appears to be that essentially white people deserve their own place, not because they're special, but because everyone should just live and not mix. Is what you're saying?
That's yeah, that's kind of the ethnat position, the ethno-nationalist position. I do think I would be characterized as more of a white nationalist because the fate of the other racial categories is not really it's not really an issue I care too deeply about. I'm really more concerned with my own folks. So it's really if other races want to mix it up, as they say, like they can go for it. I just think that whites deserve their own space where they can separate themselves from that. And I think that
so you want to essentially live on like a commune.
I don't know if it would be called a commune, but I mean, I think it's a semantic point, so I'll say sure. I think that like for example, you brought up over Twitter that something that I believe, and not particularly me, but you just sort of said, like, generally the couple of us that you were arguing with, you said that something that's inherent or implicit to our beliefs is that you're going to have to deport like millions and millions of people. I don't believe that. I don't think that's practical, to say the least. I think that America could be divided up
no, that's not going to happen.
Why don't you think so?
Okay, this might come as a shock to you, but most white people are not white nationalists.
Mm-hmm.
And America is not a white nationalist country.
It was founded as one.
Founded is a strange word also. You can't exactly claim stealing land from a group of people and then, well, this is our country now.
Oh, okay, so we're getting into this aspect of it. We're just going to fundamentally disagree on the like moral legitimacy of conquest, because it's my view that that's just the way that the world has worked for like thousands of years, is that people conquer and steal land from each other and claim it as their own. So
but we know better now.
We know better now, but why do we have to like retroactively go back and like, well, this was yours and that was yours? There's no, logically speaking, there's no cutoff point. It would be arbitrary. So I see that as...
I brought it up. I bring this up because, like you said, you want to divide the world into basically different boxes. So all the Africans live in Africa. All the white people live in Europe. I'm assuming that was what your friend wanted, to live in, everyone in Europe to be just a bunch of white people. Everyone in Asia, all Asian people. That's the world you want to live in, correct?
Not necessarily. I think I already said that. That I believe in sort of freedom of association style, like nationalism, if that makes any sense, where it's like Japan and Israel are perfect examples of like, okay, Israel is for the Jews, and so they keep a Jewish ethnic majority. Japan is for the Japanese, they keep a Japanese ethnic majority. This doesn't mean that other people aren't allowed to like visit and live there, but the nations are specifically set up with systems in place to prioritize their people above outgroups. And so it's not so much that I think that the world should be divided as like purely this, purely that. It's just I think that that's what people want. Like when left to their own devices, that is what we see. That's what the phenomenon of white flight is. You see this in prison systems when you have all these racial groups gathering together. Sunday is the most segregated day in America, as the saying goes. When people are left to their own devices, they will naturally flock to their own. And so I think systems set in place to accommodate that.
Yeah, but that's just like evolution, man.
Uh-huh.
That like we're programmed to want to be around people that look similar to us.
Sure.
That's just evolution.
Yeah.
You know, it's what's kept us alive. It's what, made it easy to separate ourselves from different tribes.
Absolutely.
And that's not the world we live in anymore.
Why not?
Because members of our tribe don't have to look like us anymore.
Why, though? Why would we fight against... as you put it, why would we go against our nature and our evolution? Why would we actively fight that? But we clearly don't.
Our primitive ancestors didn't know better. They had scarce resources. They had very limited land. They had very limited numbers. We don't like live in. There's scarcity in the world, yes, but here in America, there's this isn't like a, oh no, the brown people are going to come by and kill us, so we have to stick together. It's not what's going on in the modern world.
I mean, that does seem to be the case when you look at interracial crime statistics, though. Like,
you're just jumping back. All right,
I'm not jumping back to crime. I'm just bringing it up as part of the point that you yourself just said that this is just something that we've evolved to do. It's in our nature to want to flock with our own. Why would we fight against that? And your answer is sort of just like, that's just not how we do things anymore.
Well,
and it's
why should I fight against my nature to take a rock and beat you upside the head and take all of your things? It's human nature to want things. Why don't I just do that? That makes no sense. It's because it's human nature to want and to need things that I should...
I think we can distinguish. I think we can distinguish what is. How would you put it? There's nature, and then there's like these violent impulses, as you're sort of equivocating it, and these are two vastly different things, and I don't know how to like explain that to you if you don't get it. Like,
please explain it to me, because I'm just not getting it. Because
okay, if you don't see the difference between wanting to remain with our own, which is statistically provable, that this nature is actually a benefit for us because homogenous societies have higher rates of happiness and so on and so forth, and we don't have all these problems that we have with diversity. That's fine. You're an outlier. Like, no offense.
Outlier?
Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna shock you, but you're actually the outlier. Okay, most people in America don't see race the way you do. Uh-huh. That we're different. That we're essentially different, despite being from the same country, living in different communities.
They don't have to see it for it to be in their nature. I'm not arguing that.
But
like,
this is the thing. Like, we're past nature. We're not like
you keep saying that, but you're not providing anything to like substantiate that. Okay, go on, make your point.
Okay, we're not living in these times where rival tribes will just come to invade you if you don't have like unity, like in the way that you're speaking. Like, the tribes look different now. We're different skin colored, we're different creeds, we're different, but we're one fucking tribe, dude. And like you're treating this like we're still fighting for survival, but we're not living in the woods anymore. We're living in houses with AC and electricity. This is the modern era. And like the things that we had to do to survive back in the day, we don't have to do anymore. You were praising the conquests of the past. Like,
I'm not praising them. I'm just saying that's the reality of it. Okay,
it happened, but we know better now, right? do we know better now, or are we
Yeah.
still in the opinion that these things our ancestors did were good?
I think that's a bit of a tough one. Like we can
You'll notice the
judge.
difference because I stopped working on my Photoshop to say that part.
Okay. I didn't catch. Anyway, um
Okay.
I think that you can judge past actions by the moral standards of the present, but I think that in doing so you're foregoing a lot of context, and like you're not looking at, say, the end result or the benefits of that conquest. Like, for example, I think America or European civilization, whichever conquest you want to pick, I think that the end results of that have been great. And it's not to say that atrocities haven't been committed, but I think to judge these events as sort of like by our modern standards of morality is a bit naive, to say the least.
But we have our modern standards of morality.
Right.
Because
That's why we don't do it anymore, I think.
Yeah, we've looked at the past and determined that those things that we did in the past aren't good anymore.
Mm-hmm.
See, they didn't have that during their time. They didn't have a moment where they could look back and go, gosh, we probably shouldn't just kill people.
Yeah.
But, like, we shouldn't just mass genocide. There wasn't a Hitler before we had Hitler. The closest thing they had was, they had Napoleon,
mm-hmm.
who was conquering the world. But he wasn't doing it for any racial reasons. It's essentially, we needed to learn. We did those bad things in the past to learn what not to do in the future, is essentially what that goes down to. And the reason we look back and go, Native American genocide, that was bad. But people back then thought, well, but we're entitled to this land because manifest destiny. It's essentially like, we can look back and think, slavery bad. We should not enslave people.
Sure.
It's like the mistakes we make in the past are so we don't make future mistakes.
I don't think we're disagreeing here. I think that maybe it's just me being kind of like philosophical and autistic about it. Because I'm looking at it more from the lens of like, okay, we can say those things were bad and so we're not going to do them anymore. But what I don't like is where you take it, which is sort of like, the conquest of America by Europeans is evil, and so like Native Americans should get the land back. I don't see that as like if you want to talk about impractical, like deporting millions and millions of people, it's highly impractical to assume that like, we'll just give the land back to the Native Americans. So that's what I don't like about this line of logic. Is like, I understand what you're saying.
Okay, well, this isn't my line of logic the way that you're trying to strawman it. I'm not saying give the land back.
Okay.
Okay? This is what I'm trying to say. But considering Native Americans have been in America for 20,000 years, and this has only been a country for, 300 years?
Uh-huh.
Like, they legitimately had claim to this country way before white people even came.
I think we should distinguish, or be careful at least, when we're talking about this.
I wasn't exactly... I pause a lot. That doesn't mean I'm done talking.
I apologize. I'm not trying to cut you off.
Okay. So, I forgot where I was going.
I'm sorry.
My opponent has a tiny penis. No. I'm not... Alright, so I'm gonna try to put this in a more modern context. So... Native Americans, we keep them on reservations and whatnot because we took their land and gave them a little spot of land, like, hey, this is your spot now. Essentially what you want to do, but for white people, here's your little land. How would you feel if you got this little land after losing a bunch of land, and then some big oil company decides to come through and put a pipeline through your land without your permission? Now, I imagine you would think that's morally bad. That's unfair. You're just coming through our land, this little bit of land that we have.
Yeah, if I could
just decided to put a pipeline through here.
If I could respond to.
I'm getting to the.
Oh, okay,
the main
okay. I think I see where you're going with it, and so I just wanted.
So these are the problems that we're still facing because we're still trying to take from people that we've taken everything from, and no one is really standing up for these people who are now being forced to live on little lands, and now the white man is coming back to take more. The white man is coming to take more and more and more. They have such little things now, and they're still doing it. They're still putting oil pipelines through Native American land without any permission, and it's violating, I'm back to not paying attention and doing Photoshop, so my voice has changed.
Okay,
back to this. Okay, so yeah, you wanted to jump in. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Yeah, because I like I was going to say earlier, I think that something important to distinguish between is land and country or nation or whatever you want to call it. Because I understand the point of, like, this was Native American land where we came here and they were living here. But I think that it's important to distinguish that, like, the country is not theirs. The United States of America is not the Native Americans. Like, they have no claim to what we have created since then, I think is an important thing to distinguish. I don't know if this was the point that you're making, but I've heard this point made a lot, where it's sort of like, oh, America technically belongs to the natives because they were here first. And it's like, well, North America, the land, maybe you could argue that. I would push back on that, but like the country itself was created by Europeans. So I don't really... Where exactly are we going with this point? I've kind of lost it.
I was essentially making a morality.
Oh, right. We were talking about morality. Yeah.
Even though we've learned not to mistreat Native Americans, we're still doing it to this very day.
Mm-hmm.
Was essentially the point I was trying to make. I wasn't making the point of white man bad yet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure where to go from there. I think we might have run that topic well enough.
Maybe. I kind of bored myself talking about it.
Yeah.
But it was essentially just my point of, we learned from the mistakes of the past, but apparently not. This is what happens when we don't learn from the mistakes of the past and we continue to treat human beings like, they're just in the way.
Sure. I'm not fully prepared to talk about, like, the Native American situation, and
Yeah, all right. We don't have to talk about the plight of the Native Americans.
Okay.
We can keep it on blacks and Hispanics, which I know is what you want to talk about. Really bad.
Rad. Those are the ones I hate. They make me really mad.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a point I wanted to press you on, actually. And now that we've cooled down a little bit, I think I can get this point across without exploding. You brought up the point, and this was pretty early on, which is what surprised me, was we were talking about the Great Replacement on Twitter, and
oh yeah, let's get back to that.
Right, we don't have to return to the replacement. I think we basically, like, clarified our positions on that, and people can sort of make up their own minds, come to their own conclusions. I think it was an interesting point that you brought up as a pretty immediate response to something that I said, which I can't even remember what I said, but I wasn't talking about this. That's what I remember. Was you said, like, you're scared of brown people or something like that, and I said
that might have been one of my troll comments. I didn't say I was scared of brown people. Being scared of brown people is a stupid fear. Right,
you didn't say you were scared of brown people. You love brown people. You love black. That's what you told me.
I love it all.
Right, and you asked me specifically what do you have to fear from brown people as a white man? That was something that you asked me, and when I answered you, you immediately said, "Wow, racist," and, like, you retweeted me and were like,
okay.
just highlighting.
I believe I had asked the question. Okay, I think I remember this one. I believe I asked the question. I wanted you to explain to me why me as a white man should be scared of my brown neighbors. Was essentially what I had asked you, and I don't believe I don't remember. Racist, I may have, but I must have just been assuming you were white supremacist, not just white nationalist, which is apparently two different things from the same community now. I was unaware.
Lots of people
I thought
like
it went
to,
hand in hand.
yeah, lots of people like to associate the two, like there's no difference, but like, yeah, there is. It's the, how would you put it? It's like the slur term for white nationalists. You're very hard pressed to find any real white supremacists in the like pro-white racist sphere, whatever you want to call what I'm in. You're very hard pressed to find white supremacists, like actual white supremacists. White nationalists.
Well, we're gonna have to disagree there, I'm afraid. But you can keep going.
Okay. But yeah, I don't recall you saying your brown neighbors. If that's what you said, I really.
I was just saying brown people in general. Why should me as a
Right.
white man be scared of brown people?
Right, and I answered you with the fact that as a white person, you're 27 times more likely to be attacked by a black person than the other way around, and that
Even more if I'm living in that community. And yet I'm not scared of every black man I pass on the street or
that's
every
fine.
Mexican I talk to on the bus.
That's fine that you're not scared of them. That's fine. I guess being scared is subjective. I suppose, but I was simply answering your question, and
I'm scared of spiders.
Right. I mean, we can agree on that. Oh yeah, just gas the spiders.
Even though spiders kill me a lot less than black people.
Right.
They kill less a year than black people, according to your statistics.
I
shouldn't be scared of spiders. I should be scared of black people.
I mean, I don't have the stats on spider deaths. I don't have the stats on the murder rate of spiders.
I do.
I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to reserve judgment on the spider question until I see some numbers. But the point that I'm making is that I thought it was interesting that you tried to delegitimize like the fear of the average white person of brown people or black people when you asked like what would a white person have to fear from these groups, and I gave you like a very plain answer of like, well, they're more likely to be attacked by these racial outgroups than the other way around. You sort of dismissed that, and I want to press you on that. Like, why is that an illegitimate fear?
Well, okay, before I answer that question, you're in America, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I had to guess, you are in the Midwest?
Let's say that, sure.
Wow, am I correct? Because you don't have a Southern accent, so you're not from the South.
I might just be masking it. You'd have no idea.
All right, so I'm going
sorry.
to assume Midwest. Are you Northern or Southern Midwest?
Let's say Northern. Let's say
more
Northern.
in the middle.
Let's say Northern. I don't know if you heard me. Sorry.
Okay. Northern. Okay, so this is making a little bit more sense. So you may have been raised in an area that doesn't have a lot of diversity to begin with, which might be why you've reached the conclusion that you've reached in life. I originally from Virginia, and I can tell you this place is very diverse, despite what you may believe.
Mm-hmm.
Got a large military population, large black African American. I hate saying black. Large African American community, large Asian community. Pretty large Hispanic community as well, and I've had a lot of friends of every race, and I think I've actually had more minority friends than I've had white friends my entire life. But someone who has spent their entire life, I'm going to assume, in the Midwest and, among only white people, and you read statistics like that and you assume that these areas that have diversity are just crime-ridden, I think it really your position really boils down to the fact that you haven't really been around people of different, minority groups.
Okay. I didn't think it would have to come to this, but I mean, there's no easy way to say this aside from like, you don't know me. Like, I think it's kind of dumb to like psychoanalyze our positions like that. It's not a very fruitful conversation to be like, well, you were attacked by like a black person when you were like 12, and so that must be why you hate black people or whatever. No, but I'm just bringing that as an example. It's like,
let's use that as an example.
Okay.
I could say, let's say 20 black people break into my house right now and kill my family in front of me and beat me half to death.
Yes.
There is nothing that would make me look at the entire black race and be like, wow, they're all criminals. And that's if that happened to me.
Okay.
Right? So there's I just can't get into the mindset. Like, I would just think like those 20 were just really bad people. I wouldn't think the entire race is bad. You can't make an absolute statement like that.
I don't think anyone is, to clarify. But
no, I'm not. Well, I'm just trying to understand the mindset of like someone who would think in absolutes like that.
I think
I'm not saying you're that type of person.
I think that's an interesting conversation to have. But my point is more that your individual experience, you might say that like, oh, this really horrible thing could happen to me, like where blacks did this thing to me, and I wouldn't be affected by it. Like, it wouldn't alter my perception of that race of people.
It wouldn't make me racist.
Sure.
It fucked me up for years, but it wouldn't make me racist.
Of course. What I mean, though, is that, like, let's say this did happen to someone, and then they come to these conclusions that they believe, or rather, it doesn't happen to them at all, and they just do what I did, and they just read these statistics and stuff like that. Why is it, like, illegitimate of them to look at, like, statistics that are, like, blacks are overrepresented in homicides by, like, 404%, like, something absurd like that? That's, what's the name of that source offhand? The Journal of Offenders or something like that. I could send it to you if you don't believe me. But somebody could look at a statistic like that and be like, wow, the next time I see a black guy standing in an alleyway, I don't think I'm going to go down that alleyway to like take my shortcut home or something like that. Why is that fear illegitimate? And moreover, why does it delegitimize the idea that like whites deserve their own spaces and whites have a right to be distrustful of other races and stuff like that?
Well, what have other races really done to white people that white people haven't already done to races for thousands of years? You know? It's like, if anything, that black person you meet in the alleyway should be more scared of you. So,
I mean, that's kind of a silly point, though, right? I mean, like,
really?
just because, like, blacks experience slavery, for example, doesn't mean that, like, a black guy sees a white guy standing in an alleyway and he's like, I better steer clear of him, he might enslave me. Like, that's not the same thing as, like, looking at murder statistics and going, oh, blacks are more likely to murder than whites are. So if I see a black guy standing alone, he's kind of shifty looking, I don't think I'm going to go near that black guy. These are vastly different things. I think that's a little silly.
I think it's silly to look at a person and the first thing you think is, oh my God, this person's going to kill me. Right? And I hope you don't do that when you see black people and that's the first thing you think. My God, this person is 40% more likely to stab me.
All the time. I live in constant terror. It's a nightmare. No.
Sounds like it.
No, but no,
you need that safe space for white people. I agree with you.
I need my safe space. But that's not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that when I bring this up to you, and I say when you pose the question like, why should you be scared of brown people, and then you use that perfectly legitimate and statistically backable fear of these other groups that are more likely to commit these crimes, you use that. You use that as like, oh, well, you're just scared of them and that's just ignorant. And it's like, okay. Like, what? Like, you couldn't.
Again, that was kind of a troll.
You could, okay.
Still.
Okay.
It's still a funny thing that there are people. And again, that was during the time when I thought you were also white supremacist.
Okay, so it's safe to say that's not your position then? Is that like a fear?
Well, my position is if you're scared of brown people, you're stupid. But your position is Well, they're not entirely stupid because statistically speaking. Well, I got a statistic for you. All
Uh-huh.
right.
Okay.
Well, not actually. I'm gonna ask you
Oh.
what your opinion
Okay.
is on
All right.
this.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
I didn't look up any numbers.
That's all right.
Would you say that the majority of African Americans, the majority of Hispanics are criminal?
The majority?
Yeah, the majority.
I don't have those numbers right in front of me.
Okay, I was really hoping you would just say no.
Okay. I
I was
mean,
really hoping you would just say no. I really don't want you to think that the majority of brown people are criminals. I don't want you
I
to
think
believe
I
that.
think
If anything
they're
can change
far
about this, it would be that.
they're far more likely to be, I guess is what I would say.
That's not exactly what I wanted to hear.
I'm sorry if I didn't play into the hypothetical like you
No,
wanted.
it's
I'm
not a
sorry.
trap. It's just I
No,
really
no,
don't
it's
want you to think that people are this. I hate to say it, black and white.
uh-huh.
That you're either a criminal or not, and I really don't want you to think that there's more criminals than not. You know, relatively speaking, America does have a pretty large incarceration rate. They do have a lot of people behind bars. Um, But to assume that the majority and like it's staggering. Okay, like 60% of America. I don't think that's correct. Might be no, it might be about 60%. 60% of America is white,
Yeah.
and the majority of people behind bars are white. The majority of people on welfare are white.
Yeah.
You know, and that makes sense because they're the largest
Yeah, because
population.
there's more
And
of them,
yeah,
exactly.
yes, and you're the statistics aren't any higher or lower in these minority communities. You know,
But
it's really not
proportionally,
that different.
you have to look at things per capita. You can't look at the raw numbers and say like, "Oh, that's about normal." You
I
look at the
don't see why you.
I'm sorry?
Okay, well, here I wanted to get back to a point way long ago when we started, and the reason that it was brought up before, and we went off in the socioeconomic, and then we went to evolution. I drew a lot of notes and lines and stuff linking things.
Yeah.
The reason, like, the reason there's a lot of like minority people behind bars also has a lot to do with racism in like policing and in the court system. Like there's literally like prosecutors that intentionally put white people on the jury because white people are more likely to find a black person guilty of a crime just for being black. They intentionally try to keep black people out of the jury because black people are more likely to say that a person didn't commit a crime. It's like the system is rigged against them to like begin with. So like
I would be interested to read about that if you happen to have
well,
that like
this is true. A lot of prosecutors were bragging about it after
yeah, I'm
desegregation.
Oh yeah,
They were
I'm
saying
taking
like if we start letting black people serve on the jury, they're going to intentionally find white people guilty, or they're going to intentionally try to make a criminal that's being accused that's the same race as they're innocent just because they're the same race. And this is a fear that has continued among prosecutors that like, oh no, we have to just keep putting white people on the jury instead of the peers of the community. It all just boils back to racism, the time of racism, and that's one of the many reasons you get a lot more black people being convicted of crimes than white people. It's because at every institutional level, black people are not just black people. This goes for pretty much every small minority here in America. It's institutionalized. There's a lot of laws from the Jim Crow era still. Just a law like last year, there was a Jim Crow law that was finally appealed here in like Virginia, where it was like black people couldn't visit a movie theater like after night or some shit like that. And like, how was
Really?
this still on the books? It wasn't being enforced, but it was still there.
Wow.
Like, there are laws that just still permeate mostly the South, not so much up north, but these still, and I would assume crime rates in minority communities are a lot higher in the South than they are up north. I could probably look that statistic up, and I'm going to assume that's the case.
I saw a graph the other day that suggests something to
Yeah.
that effect. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, these are laws that still exist in America from the Jim Crow era that are still on the books. Whether they're enforced or not is a whole different thing. I imagine there's a lot worse in Mississippi than in Virginia, but that there's a lot more fact. You can't just like look at things and just say different color, therefore. And I'm not saying that's your position. I'm just saying the ridiculousness of even like I hear criminal, I think white guy in like ski mask and striped shirt. Like, I don't think black guy. Like,
Sure.
like same thing of like when I say superhero, you probably think Superman with cape,
Sure.
Yeah, it's like it's basically whatever pops to mind you associate as criminal. Like when you hear the word.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't picture, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. I'm half asleep and working on 3 things at the same time.
That's all right. It does kind of sound like we're winding down a little bit. So, yeah, go on.
The point I was just trying to make is I can't think of like you can't just look at statistic and not. I'm not a statistician. I believe that's the word.
Yeah.
I'm not a person who. I'm more of the person who tries to find the variables.
Mm-hmm.
I try to find why is this the way it is, because you could just be handed numbers and statistics and not
Sure.
given any context and just roll with it. But you gotta like, every person's different. Every person has a different story. You gotta look at it. You can't just look at it through the same lens. You can't just divide things by race. You have to divide things by people. The smallest minority is the individual.
Sure, and I think that's just where we're gonna have to fundamentally disagree. Is that I moved away from individualism like a while back. I how do you say it? I see the merits.
So you don't believe people? You think people operate in groups? They don't operate with individual desires?
No, that's no. I do believe that the individual exists. Thinking? No, I don't believe in a hive mind. No, I don't believe in like collective.
Just want to make sure.
No, I'm not that far gone. Don't worry. But the individual.
Sure, you don't want to embrace the truth of QAnon?
Yes, I'm not familiar. I'm reserving judgment. Individualism. I really have no idea what QAnon is. I see it all the time. I have no idea.
Well, I would avoid any place where you see that mention. It's the most ridiculous conspiracy theory.
It sounds pretty gay. Like I'm not familiar, but I don't like what I've seen. But anyway, I do believe that people operate as individuals, and on an individual basis, I like for example, I've got black friends. I know black people. Like you judge people on an individual case by case basis, but I think the essence of the meat of the disagreement is just going to come from I can look, or people can look at these I believe it's heuristics is the term. You can look at these characteristics and heuristics of these groups and collectives and make judgments based on those stats or numbers or whatever you want to call them. And so I don't think it's a fruitful conversation to have where it's like, well, you have to judge people on an individual basis. It's like, that's not only is it not practical, but I don't see a strong moral argument for not being able to judge people based on like collective averages and stuff like that. Like if we know that blacks are 27 times more likely to attack whites than the other way around. If we know that, why is it the burden of white people to have to put up with that and just judge blacks on an individual basis? Why can't they just say, you know what?
Could the same be said for white people? That at a time, a majority of white people were extremely fucking racist.
Sure.
You agree, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I want to go back to that,
baby. If we
were
just going to link all white people as racist, instead of looking at every individual person the way that is, the way they are.
No, but what I'm saying is that if you let's use that hypothetical. Let's say there's a group of people that's like hugely racist, and we just want nothing to do with this group of people. They're just really intolerable.
White nationalists.
Yeah, let's say that. Let's say it's white nationalists. You don't want anything to do with me. So why do you have to put up?
No, actually, this is all right. This is actually going to shock you. All right, I am 100% in favor that white nationalists should get their own country, and get the fuck out of my country.
Based in red pilled.
I will fund to get every white nationalist out of my country.
All right. Right on.
So you got me on board.
Right on.
Let's run on that, actually.
All right.
Where are you going to build this? White nationalist, Whitelandia, as I will call it.
Whitelandia. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't given it much thought.
I don't know of any continent or country that's willing to lend space for this, but hey, I'll throw my money towards it.
We'll figure it out, man. We'll play it by ear. It's a bit of a pipe dream, but anyway, to get back to the point, I do think maybe we just don't agree. I just a fundamental.
I would assume so. Because this is a debate.
certainly. But what I mean is, I think it's just going to be a fundamental disagreement where it's like, if I see a group of people that I just like I keep bringing up the example of like a very violent minority group, and I just want nothing to do with them. Why is the burden on me and my group to have to like judge them on an individual case by case basis, when I could just look at that group statistic and say, you know what, I really don't want to put up with that. I think we should just sort of push them to one side, or maybe we go somewhere else, whatever the case may be. Like, why? I think we're just going to fundamentally disagree there, unless you've got more to say on that.
Have you ever heard of the black swan fallacy?
I'm not familiar.
You see a black swan, and you go, all swans are black, until you see a white swan. It's essentially what it's. Yeah. So your position is essentially the majority of this are black swan, therefore, black swan, all swans are black until you see a white swan, and then it changes your worldview, is kind of the point. So essentially that's your argument, is actually kind of the black swan fallacy. Like, the majority of swans are black, therefore,
I would push back on it simply because I'm not familiar with this fallacy, so maybe I'm mistaken, but it seems to me the black swan fallacy implies that the black swan is the minority. Like, all swans are not actually black. In fact, the majority
it's called the black swan fallacy, but I wasn't like, no, it's not like, it doesn't have to do it like minorities. It's not called the black swan fallacy because
it's not.
It's just the.
They prefer the African American swan fallacy.
White swan fallacy, if it makes it.
No. There's a miscommunication here. What I'm saying is, the black swan fallacy would imply, unless I'm mistaken, the black swan fallacy would imply that black swans are not, in fact, the majority of swans. White swans are, in fact...
It's the majority of that you've seen.
The majority that... Oh, okay.
So you make the statement, all swans are black,
so then
you see a white swan.
Right. Yeah. So then... Okay, but I don't think that is what's happening here, because I'm not just looking at like it'd be very easy for me to look at, say, New York or any urban center and say like, oh, look, blacks commit like 90% of the gun crime or something like that, which it is true, but it's like I don't use that argument because that's not the case across the board. I think that's an extreme example. What I'm looking at is looking nationally, what do we see as like a black crime rate. So I'm not actually engaging in this fallacy because I'm not picking out like the most extreme examples and saying, ergo, all the blacks are like this. I'm saying, no, when we look... I would
argue every example you've given is technically an extreme example. I mean...
Okay.
I don't see why you wouldn't use the gun violence in New York against minorities as well. Because it's basically the exact same thing you're trying to say with minorities committing more crimes.
I mean...
it's the same. You might as well,
Not really, though. It'd be dishonest too. Like it's important to consider because that's like the extreme, right? But it's not the broad case. So I don't like using urban centers as like, look at the black crime rate in New York City. They commit over 90% of the gun crime. because it's just dishonest. I don't know any other way to spin that. I don't see using the national black crime rate as a black swan. I'm literally looking as broadly as possible. So
I don't know what to tell you. I've been a bit lazy to look up any statistics while we were talking. I wrote a lot of things down.
Okay.
I would like to try something with you. I'm going to call it the logical conclusion, okay? That's what I'm calling this.
Okay.
And I would like to walk with you through your goals, I guess.
Take me for a walk. Let's do it.
And take it to its logical conclusion.
All right.
Let's say I am with you 100%, and you and me, man, we're going to go create Whitelandia.
All right. Absolutely.
So first, we gotta decide where are we starting this? What trailer park are we starting this?
All right.
You know? Let's do this.
Okay.
So you give me your plan, because we're us white people. We're gonna be replaced in, what do you say, 30 years? Oh no.
Yeah.
So we need to get the hell out of here. We have to make our own country. So where are we doing it? We'll start there. Where are we doing this?
Oh, we're doing like a logistical argument.
We're doing the logical conclusion. So we're gonna follow this out.
Okay.
So I got my list here. So where is it starting? America, Europe, Australia.
I mean, America, because that's where I am, and I think America's pretty awesome. So
right, we're going to assume that America is going to let us break away from the Union and create our own little country, Whitelandia. All right. So America. Now what? Where in America?
Where in America?
What state would let us do this?
I've heard good things about New Hampshire. Like, they're majority white, but I'm not familiar.
All right, let's run with New Hampshire. Okay, New Hampshire, a little area in New Hampshire decides to let us break away from the Union and create Whitelandia. All right, so now we're in New Hampshire.
Okay. What's
going to happen? So what do we do? What do we do to keep all those scary brown people out of here, of New White Hampshire? I don't know what we're calling it. Let's keep it Whitelandia.
Okay. I think I know where you're going with this, and it is
yes, logical conclusion.
Yeah,
I want to know what system of government. How are we going to enforce keeping the Browns out?
Gosh.
How are we going to do this? We're going to pass laws. Let's run through this logical conclusion.
I prefer.
How are we doing it? What kind of system of government are we having?
I prefer to run with these types of what would you call them? Logical exercises or thought exercises. I prefer to run with the more broader, like, let's just say you were king of the world tomorrow. What would you do to have, like, your perfect society?
Sure, we're doing that.
Right,
We're going under the assumption America is completely okay with us creating our own country.
Okay, I think, and this addresses something that you said earlier, which was, like, you're going to have to deport millions and millions of people. It's like, I don't think we would have to do that.
All right. Well, that was my position, because I thought your position was, we're going to separate everyone into these little boxes. All the Africans go back to Africa, and etc.
I think
that wasn't your position. Yeah. You just want a little space, a little safe space for white people.
I would prefer, like, the whole country, or at least a good slab of it.
Well, then all right. You know what? I'm scratching New Hampshire. All right. America is now white.
Awesome.
Right?
Sweet deal.
No brown people. All right. All of America.
Oh, they're just white automatically?
America.
Oh,
all
okay.
Right. So now we're in logical conclusion land. Now we got to get these people out of here, right? So now we have to deport, right?
Yeah.
All right.
No.
So now that's
we don't actually have to do that. We don't actually have to do that. I think that there's plenty of ways that you could.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll just have them be like second-class citizens in Whitelandia, right? So that'll work. Okay.
No. Okay. Hold on. So no. Let me just run through this really quick. You don't have to deport people or make them second-class citizens. There's a very easy way that you could achieve what I'm proposing. You could incentivize white birth rates and disincentivize non-whites. Like, you could give white families tax breaks, or give them a certain amount of money for every white child, and non-whites might have to pay like an extra tax or something like that. If you're saying
is
something, I can't
like
hear you. You're breaking up.
no, I'm writing this down. I wrote get white people laid, give white people tax break.
All right.
All
That's
right, so
exactly what I
these are
said.
all the practical things we're gonna have to do to make Whitelandia a thing. All right.
Right. That's
All
exactly
right.
what I
So,
said.
are we going to be changing our government here in any way? We're keeping the democracy,
Y-
right? Or
Um,
are we changing it?
I I'm not a huge fan of democracy. I th-
All right. Fuck democracy.
I
I'm with
think
you. Let's
all
do
right.
it.
I think there's some problems with it. Like I
All
haven't
right. So
quite
what kind of
go on.
All right, what system are we implementing? We're fuck democracy, burn the constitution, fuck this shit. All right? We're starting over. What are we doing?
I don't know. I
Okay. Well, all right. I'll put you down as I don't know. So,
okay.
that should go great.
All right.
Let all the people in Whitelandia know we don't have a plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Very
So now,
cool.
fuck democracy. Get white people laid, tax break. We don't have to deport people. All right.
Right, we don't
Let's keep
have
going.
to. You could very easily incentivize white birth rates and disincentivize non-whites. You could encourage a Eurocentric immigration policy, like bringing in more white people into America, rather than focusing on the southern border like we have been doing.
But you know what, man? Gosh, we've done all this, man. We're getting white people laid like crazy, and we're giving them tax breaks, and these brown people, man, they just keep coming here and they keep wanting to work. The ones here are trying to apply for jobs. It's crazy. So how are we going to do this, man? They're asking for jobs. Like, are we going to let them work here in Whitelandia? This is outrageous. We can't allow that. You know? So
I don't
allow brown people in Whitelandia to work.
I don't understand this line of questioning.
No.
What's the point
We're building your dream country.
What's
right
the
now,
point
so.
that you're trying to drive at with this?
No, this is the logical conclusion. We're following you out, man. I'm following your logic, and I'm doing everything. I'm writing the list here of everything you want. So the brown people in the country, because we didn't deport them, they need jobs. So are we going to allow them to work here in Whitelandia? Kind of defeats the purpose. It's like, it's what America's been doing. We have mostly white places, and then we have brown people working jobs. So do we make them not be allowed to work here in Whitelandia? Or because so long as there's jobs, they're gonna keep applying, and they're gonna need money, so they're gonna have to get jobs. So
they could work. I don't again. I don't understand this line of questioning.
I'm granting you everything you will need to create Whitelandia.
Okay,
but
you're doing it in this sort of like condescending, like we're not really accomplishing anything when we talk about it like this.
These are all the things that would need to happen to create the world you want to live in.
Okay,
right?
Sure.
Right? This is you're agreeing that these are all the things that need to happen, right?
I suppose.
And I'm granting them.
Okay.
No matter how illogical they seem, I'm granting all of them because we're going to a logical conclusion.
Okay. Why not? Okay. Why don't you get to the point?
I'm not trying to be condescending. These are the things that you want, right? These are the things that we need here in Whitelandia.
Sure.
Right? Okay. I'm not trying to get you in a trap, man. We're just following this out.
I get that. I just don't understand like what's the point of it. Like I don't think we're having like a very productive exchange of ideas right now. It just sort of seems like you're doing a okay.
No. I'm legitimately I'm interested. Like this is what I wanted to do at the very start, and like spend the whole hour talking about like what would we need to do.
Oh shoot! Well, sorry to disappoint you. We could have done that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
I know. We could have been doing this. So
okay.
We are allowing minorities to work here, but they won't get our white tax breaks, and they won't be getting laid as much.
Yeah.
All right, and we don't have a system of government. We're working on it.
Okay.
All right, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
And so they're still allowed to work, but will they be receiving lower wages than white people?
I don't see why they would have to.
Okay. So equal wages. That's good. Hey, that's better than America.
Sure.
So everyone
Okay.
gets paid equal.
Yeah.
Equal pay. This is doing pretty good, man. I'm liking Whitelandia so far.
All right, I'm glad you do.
So how are we going to secure our borders? Because we're going to have immigrants wanting to get to Whitelandia because it's going so great over here. So they're going to we're going to have Mexicans trying to jump the border to get here in Whitelandia, right?
I mean, a wall is probably a good idea. I haven't.
Oh, we got to build the wall.
Yeah.
All right, I'll put it down.
A wall. The wall has like a what is it, 90 or something crazy, like a 90% effectiveness rate in like Israel and places that have similar border controls.
Yeah. All right. So we'll build the wall.
Uh-huh.
That'll be a few $1 billion, but we'll build the wall.
All right.
Okay. So we got the wall. So now southern border protected. We're good to go. Ain't no Mexicans getting it. Oh, except for the same problem America had, where they're allowed to just fly over here and not leave, which is how the majority of immigrants get to America. They buy a plane ticket and then they don't leave. Okay, so how are we gonna fix that? Because the wall is not stopping them all. They keep flying over here. It's this damn globalism. They got air people from different countries flying over. So how are we going to stop that?
I'm not entirely familiar with this argument of like they take planes here and then they just don't like. Well, they come here on work visas. Isn't that the argument?
Oh well, yeah. But I'm just saying.
Okay, then we wouldn't let that happen. Right, problem solved. Visas. Yeah, like we don't need any more immigrants coming in to work. We would just take the people here. Like it's.
Okay, so we got no work visas for outside people, except should we clarify that maybe like some really smart Swedish people and like British people?
Oh yeah, white people are A-okay.
Okay, white visas.
All right,
white visas. All right. We're and remember, these are all things I'm granting you. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware.
This is the perfect world. Okay, yes. America 100% becoming Whitelandia. All these things America is agreeing to create this world you want to live in. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Whitelandia is doing pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Despite not having a government.
It's to be decided. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, we don't need these things. We got plenty of time. We got 30 years, before we're overtaken, right?
Well, it's a pipe dream. It's not going to start with like I'm king of the world and I get to decide what happens. There's probably going to be some sort of split. I haven't done too much thinking about it because it's not like mentally healthy to like think about like how the system is all going to come crashing down. But I do believe there's going to be something like that will cause a schism.
This system can't crash down. Because this system was made by two white people. You and me, man.
So we're still talking in the hypothetical. Okay. I was trying to keep it in the realm of reality again. Silly me.
White people
right.
coming up. All right. So, all right. White visas only for white immigrants. Okay. Whitelandia is doing pretty damn good, man. Doing pretty damn good. Yeah, this is looking good, dude.
I'm glad you like it. Hey,
Whitelandia is a complete success.
Okay.
These are all the things that need to happen, right? So we're going to run down the list. All right, America has to be willing to become Whitelandia. We're going to have to be starting over from scratch with the government thing, but we'll work on that.
Yep.
It won't just be a small thing. It'll be a national thing. Oh, we're going to need laws, dude. We're going to need laws.
Oh, shoot. I forgot about laws.
Jesus. Look at us. We're just it's anarchy without a government right now.
Crazy.
Okay, so we need laws. So what kind of laws should we pass?
I think, gosh, man, I don't know. I think we got pretty good laws right now. Can we carry some of those over?
Same laws. All right.
Basically the same. Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have use for things like affirmative action and stuff like that anymore. Maybe we could do affirmative action for white people.
No affirmative action, because no need. We're all white.
Yeah.
All right. Affirmative action. All right. Yep. No colored person getting in here.
Not in my watch.
All right. So. Laws. The exact same laws, which actually works out pretty well because most of our laws are extremely racist.
All right, I'll take your word
good,
for
man.
it.
So
Sounds
these
great.
are all the things that need to happen.
Boy, where are all these racist laws?
But well, we went over some Jim Crow laws, but
Oh,
okay.
we need those.
You know, the police. Oh, the police will get on board beating black people.
I
We
like
want
this
them
Jim
to.
Crow guy.
They've been doing it already. All right. This is working out, dude.
Okay.
Whitelandia is a success.
All right.
What else would need to happen? I don't know. If you get any ideas of what else we'd need to, add. Southern border is good.
I think we're missing I don't know. This is a personal preference. State mandated Bullet for My Valentine sessions. If we could have like an hour a day where everyone has to listen to one Bullet for My Valentine album, I think Whitelandia would be perfect.
Bullet for My Valentine.
All right.
Not the best band, but you know what? National anthem, Bullet for My Valentine.
All right. You're not allowed in Whitelandia though. If that's your thought, if that's your take. That's the worst take of the stream, I gotta say.
I'm gonna have to secede and create my own Whitelandia. North and South Whitelandia.
Sounds good to me. Hey.
All right. North and South Whitelandia.
My man.
For the people with Southern accents versus the people with Northern accents.
Oh, Adam Apocalypse. Less important Adam says state mandated waifus. I want that. Let's do that.
All right. Self-appointed wife. Oh, well, all right. Well,
state mandated waifus. Why is it a problem?
Anime is Japanese. Right? This is Whiteland, so we're gonna have to create our own waifus. We can't rely on another country's anime. Anime. We can't allow anime in here. It will poison the youth and make people think that we need diversity in Whitelandia, and we can't allow this.
If we could actually stop the joke for just a second, because I am having fun with this. No. I am having a lot of fun with this, but I just want to clarify something. That if you were to stop, like if we were to have this like dream white state and like it's Whitelandia and stuff like that, that doesn't necessitate that like you can't enjoy art from other cultures and stuff like that. Like you might find this a shock, but I love Hobson. I think he's a great rapper. Like these ideas are not mutually exclusive. I can appreciate the artwork of, say, I can appreciate Muslim architecture, but I don't want Muslims in my country, for example. These ideas are not mutually exclusive.
Okay, so art, yes. People no.
But I'm down for creating our own waifus, though. That sounds like a productive endeavor.
Okay. We'll make our own waifus.
We'll do both. We need something to reference. We need some reference to work off of.
Okay. So this is Whitelandia. These are all the things that would need to happen to make white nationalism a thing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that shit's never gonna fucking happen, dude.
Good joke. I'm glad I just wasted 20 minutes or however long of the stream to get to that punchline.
Yeah, that I followed it out, man. This country can't exist.
I mean, I'll give you props for like sticking through with it.
You can't get all of America.
Yeah. I mean, I preface this by saying this is a hypothetical where I'm like king of the world and I get to say what happens. So like, I don't get it's not really a gotcha. I mean,
no, I'm agreeing because you even agreed that this couldn't fucking happen.
Yeah, it's a pipe dream. Yeah. This is like hundreds of years into the future, if that.
Oh, it'd probably be more than that, man.
Sure.
We should have been planning this years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this system couldn't work. We didn't even have a government. It was gonna fail.
Well, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about. Well, I've heard some good things about fascism, but I'm not there yet. You know.
You're not there yet.
No, I've got some more reading to do.
Socialism.
Yeah.
So we got to try more of that.
I heard this really cool thing the other day. This guy named I can't remember his name. Like
Adolf.
Adolf. Yeah. He had this idea called National Socialism. It sounded great. I'm not sure though.
And you know what? I hear it was actually a huge success for Germany.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, because they were like it took like an entire wheelbarrow of like money in order to buy a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
And socialism really showed up and helped that country. America too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm socialist.
Very cool. Maybe we can agree on something. I haven't done much thinking. Like real talk. I haven't done a whole lot of thinking
Well, that's
on
an
like
economic system.
Right, exactly. Like economics, it's not really my thing. But I have heard good things about socialism. Like there are aspects of socialism that I would be willing to consider.
That's good. Okay. Well, I would personally try to fight for socialism, not the stopping of racial diversity and creation of Whitelandia. Personally,
Sure.
I think these are the issues we should be having. How could we best improve our economic systems? Because capitalism, will you agree, is shitty?
Yeah, there are definitely aspects that are not so great.
Well, we can agree on that then.
All right.
Yeah. And again, if we improve economic situation in America, would you agree that would have a positive effect on the crime rate?
I'm sorry, repeat the question. I missed it.
If we adopted a better economic system, would that have a positive effect on the crime in America?
I don't see how it would. No.
You don't see how people in better financial situations won't turn to stealing?
We've already been over this. The poverty rate does not have as high of a the poverty rate does not have as high of a correlation as say race does.
I'm not even making an argument right now. You don't see any, like, just in general, like
perhaps you might see that, but I think the point is moot because I think there's a higher correlation with race and crime than there is with socioeconomic status.
Crime rate is essentially.
I get what you're saying, but like the difference wouldn't be as high if we were to go with what I'm talking about, which is looking at these things on a racial level, which is where the correlation happens, not so much with socioeconomic status.
Well, so, I disagree. And I think if you want lower crime rate, you need financially stable people. So if we want to lower the crime, we should probably work on economics instead of racially separating people.
I agree with that sentiment, but you have to take into consideration the racial correlation.
Should end it with an agreement. So we should agree on something.
All right.
So we'll both work to improve our the economic system here in America, and hopefully the crime rate goes down, right?
Let's go with that, man.
Okay. Well, we can agree on that. So I think that's where we should go instead of with the white nationalist way.
That's fine, and I've laid out my arguments, I think, pretty succinctly why that's just not adequate. Like, that's just not enough.
Okay. Well, we didn't have enough time today, unfortunately.
Sure. Oh, yeah, look at the time. Yeah, you gotta get going.
Minutes. Did you want a closing statement, or?
I suppose if you do, I can make a closing statement. Like, that's up to you. I think we can just leave it here.
Okay. Well, I guess I only have one thing to say. Racism, is bad. Do you agree?
Hard disagree. I don't know where you've been the last 2 hours, man.
Okay. I tried to make you a morally acceptable human being.
Oh, right.
We're not there yet. Needed more time.
You needed more stats. You needed more numbers.
Honestly, I came in here with none of it, just disproving most of the things with just logic.
Sure. And hey, listen, I disagreements aside, I appreciate you taking the time, man. I know you gotta get to work, so I'll let you go. Thanks so much for hopping on. I'm looking forward to seeing your cut up video.
Okay. Yep.
All right. Talk to you later.
Yep. Bye.